Welcome back again and again and again to Small Talk Sunday. This is your host, William Parks, and this is a show all about trying to understand the odd world that we live in and the daily battles that we face. I'm joined with Joshua Brandon, Jack Hampton, Jared Jasper, and this is episode 9. Man, that music just never gets old, guys. It's always a jam.
Kind of glad that we switched to it, to be honest with you.
I know, it's so much more of a vibe.
I don't even remember the old track at this point.
I deleted it. I don't even have it anymore.
What old track?
So, go back to episode 1, like 1 through 4, right? I think it was something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
About there. All right, guys. So today we have a really cool episode for you guys planned out. We're gonna be talking about 2 things, kind of like we did the last episode, same format and everything, but we really want to understand if there's really any power in being vulnerable as a man, right? That's something a lot of people kind of ask about, they're curious about. And if there is, where do you kind of find that and seek that from? And also, what are some positive and negative impacts of social media? So guys, JB brought the power with vulnerability tonight.
So yeah, I brought it to the table because there have been a lot of things I've seen on social media recently and podcasts that I've listened to that have talked about it. And it's kind of like the power in being vulnerable around other people as a man. So like you guys know, as a man, it's very hard for us to show that soft side of us. Even to our closest friends, there are things that we hide away because we want to put on that front, or we want to seem like that strong male individual. But in doing that, I believe that there is power in actually being vulnerable towards other people. A lot of times that, like I said, we do put on that front, or we do put on a face in front of other people. And it can get exhausting. The quote that I want to go to is that a guy I spoke about, he said that he feels like after going out everywhere, putting on this front as a man, he said he would come home and he would finally just let out like a, and he was like, I can finally breathe. And he was like, I feel like I can breathe. And he said he felt like he could actually breathe for the first time whenever he started being vulnerable and he started letting God work in his life. And he felt like this is the first time that he had learned to breathe again, so that being vulnerable around everybody and whoever, and no matter how it makes them feel, him being vulnerable in himself. Some people may say that that's too personal for me, or that's too much for me. And if that is, then that's just your personal preference. But him being vulnerable allowed other people in his circle to also be them true, authentic selves, and to stop holding them back, and to put on this front that we put on every single day in front of other people.
Man, I love that. Like the classic example of vulnerability, like I think of, is the movie like 8 Mile. Eminem, he was in like a battle rap with some other guy, I don't remember, but his opening verse was him like literally undressing himself, like vocally talking about, hey, these are all my problems. Like my family's messed up. I'm a drug addict. Like this, and this is wrong with me. My girl left me because of this. And when it was the other guy's turn, there was nothing left for him to say because he had already opened up all of his problems, all of his feelings, and all his struggles in life. And it was freeing. Like you said, it's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's the power that it brings to other people. Was the biggest aspect to me, because there are a lot of times that, like I said, that there are things that I don't tell you guys, and there are things that you guys don't tell me. Like for the longest time, Will said that he had, like, this is the first time he opened up about that he felt like he was overwhelmed last week, and we never hear that because we're always trying to put on that front, we're always trying to put on that face. But I think that whenever, because these are conversations that we have outside of the podcast. So whenever he opened up about that, we all started talking about what we have going on in our week, troubles that we had going on, and it allowed us to be more open and more free with each other. I mean, I think the conversation was great, and it was something that needed to be had between all of us. So I think that being vulnerable, although it's uncomfortable, it's the thing that we always say, that you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So I think that once you get into that state of mind, that it, like I said, it's a fresh breath of air. Fresh breath of air.
Fresh breath of air.
Fresh breath of
we
air.
We do breathe like air, so it is a good breath. Yeah,
something.
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
JB, it really is. It's. I'm not gonna say it's freeing, because I mean it's not really freeing to be able to say that, but in a sense, it's whenever you're close with a bunch of people and you do tell everybody else around you, you have friends for a reason. Those are a lot of times like a big support system, right? So whenever you're going through something, if you let your buddies know, I mean, it helps, because it's like everyone's like, okay, yeah, we know you're going through this. Let's see what we can do to kind of help you out. right? You know, JB, you took a big step up with producing some clips for me this week because I was man down the whole week, and thank you so much for that too. It's just we had to refocus and readjust some things, but like JB was saying, is that we had that conversation, and it's a gateway into the real reason why we're friends, right?
Mhm.
It's a passage that whenever you really become close to somebody, that's something that is understood, that you talk about it in that group. It doesn't spread anywhere else outside of that. It's not conversation to be repeated anywhere to anybody else.
Yeah. So the question I want to pose with it, I'll let you go, Jared. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's important that there is a line drawn, though, whenever with the amount of people you're, completely open and vulnerable with, because, it's got to be people you trust. You got to find people that,
right,
value you and not just going to tear down everything you say.
That's
I think
true.
Yeah, there was kind of like a method or a way to go about it that I heard somebody speak about. It was that, like, whenever you meet somebody new and you want to know whether they'll be comfortable with how vulnerable that you are, maybe you just give them like a little snippet of something, and then you see how they handle it, and you wait like a month or 2 months, and you see how they handle it. And if you feel like they can keep that to themselves and they have good conversation about a slight bit of your vulnerability, then you can start to open up to them more if it's a new person. But yeah, like you said, not everybody deserves to have your vulnerability or your time. It's very specific as to who you should share that with.
So it's like a trial and error with like small information, and gradually you gain more trust.
Yeah.
In a person or group of people.
Yeah, just like that.
That's definitely a thing. I even kind of goes off the topic of making good quality friends, right? We talked about how it takes time to do that. It's not something that just happens immediately, and keeping and even JB, I think you said it on the past podcast too, but for me, I know for me and JB, I believe this is you too, but like we all have acquaintances and then we have actual friends. And the vast majority of people that we all know are acquaintances. There's only a small select group of people that are truthfully friends that you can count on.
Absolutely. And so I wanted to pose the question is that now that we discussed that there is power in being vulnerable, it can bring out the best in other people. How do you go about being vulnerable? So how can you, because for a lot of people it is uncomfortable and it is a huge step for them to try to share that with somebody. So how would you say, what's the best method to go about bringing out the vulnerability in yourself before you bring it out in others?
I think it's a lot of what Jared said, kind of testing the waters with your closest friends first, maybe your family. If you're just one of those guys, I mean, we know like males now, they want to think that nothing's wrong with them. They want everybody else to think that they're fine all of the time. Just test the water. Say, talk to your mom or your closest family member or your best friend and say, this has been bothering me lately, or this is what I'm struggling with. And you don't have to open up, be an open book right off the bat. Just give them a page or two and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Jared, you have something? Were you about to say something?
I was just going to say, I mean, it's going to, at some point, you're probably going to crash and burn, and you're going to end up being vulnerable with somebody who doesn't hold it with confidence. But that's just part of it. I mean, that's part of life. You're guaranteed to get hurt at some point. But to take that further, you just got to know, okay, well, I'm looking for a better quality friend or spouse or partner or whoever that's going to hold my words that I tell them in vulnerability with confidence with themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that goes along with it is that that scared factor to even go out there and be vulnerable with somebody. And something that I made a video about is like when you're scared to do something, that it's okay to be scared. We're all scared to do certain things in our life, but to do it with courage. So do it scared, but do it with courage. So do it knowing that it's going to better you in the long run. So even though you might be frightened in that moment while you're doing it, do it knowing that God is still going to be following your steps no matter how you do it.
Dude, I was literally listening to Jocko Willink this morning, and he
he's
verbatim.
amazing.
Oh yeah, he's incredible, and he's literally said verbatim this morning. He's like, "I want to tell you right now. You say seals are like there's no fear in them." And he's like, "I want to be honest with you. There's no courage without fear. Someone who goes into a situation courageously has fear. Like you may be a great diver, but a horrible skydiver, or the other way around. Whatever it may be. Everybody has their thing that they're scared of, and you can't be courageous without that."
Exactly.
I should have quoted him on that 8 Mile thing. He's who I heard it from. He was the one making that example.
Jocko?
Yeah.
Dude, he spit.
love him.
He's a
He had
great
a
guy,
podcast
man.
with Jay Shetty, and you know how I feel about him and Jay. Man.
Oh yeah, it's a dynamic
That
duo
does
right
make
there.
a lot of sense, though.
What'd you say?
The courage without fear. That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like when Jordan Peterson was talking about you can't be controlled and be weak as a man. If you have you can't claim self-control for as weakness or weakness as self-control. To be strong, you learn when you become strong how to control it. And so, like,
Right.
you can't have self-control without being capable of danger. Is basically what he was referring to. So I feel like that's a direct correlation to the courage without fear. Is without fear, you can't have courage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very theme that we have going on, that it can't be this without this, like can't be courage without fear. Jerry, you said it, like your prayers can't be both specific and sporadic. I feel like we have a lot of that going on. I think it's very eye opening whenever you hear those kind of things in your ear, and you're like, it kind of stops you for a minute, and you sit there and think, and you're like, whoa, like wow, that is a very real statement. It kind of gets you thinking because it's left a little bit open ended, but at the same time in your mind, it's kind of turning like, wow, that is very real, and it kind of turns your head around into a different direction.
What do
So I
people
love that
just
we have those kind of quotes coming.
people just talk about courage. They don't talk about fear and everything else. Like it's always just one or the other, not one and the other. Like they both coexist. And I'm going to be honest. I want to bring up something that happened recently in like recent times that kind of goes off of like the being vulnerable thing as far as like biblically kind of goes. Because I mean, that does tie into your relationship with God and how you follow him, right? You know, you don't have a choice. You have to be vulnerable with God. And with all these revivals that have been happening, if those of you who are listening have heard about this, the revival is essentially where someone just repents and they give their life to Jesus. They confess their sins, whatever. To be able to sit there and repent your sins and say, "Hey God, I know I messed up. I messed up really bad. Just take this off of me. Take it away. I want to give my life to you, whatever." Right? That is vulnerability in and of itself. And you have to go through that phase. You have to go through that transition in order to get to the door for more, or in essence, to get to that next season of life, because you can't grow until you understand and you realize where you're messing up. Whether that
Exactly,
be
and-
whether that be in your faith walk, whether that be in your normal fleshly life, like your worldly life, like it applies everywhere. You can't grow until you understand what's going wrong. It doesn't mean you have to necessarily always admit it out loud to everybody you're around. Like God's always going to know. He will always know. And as long as you're willing to admit it to him and you can give that to him, you're good to go. And then with friends, I mean, that's how I grow. I'll tell you guys stuff I know I'm doing wrong, and it's almost like an accountability thing a little bit, if I'm being honest. It is.
Exactly. And the longer you keep it inside, the bigger the problem festers and gets too. If you don't put it out in the open, like you said, not in front of everybody, but with your closest friends, the bigger the problem will get, because maybe your friend responds with some word of advice or a different perspective that you didn't think of. So you have to get it out there in the open, unless if you don't, it's going to get bigger.
Man,
Truth.
You're the one preaching, Will.
Oh, she had a little firework to go off in the background.
J-Rod up there, wise too.
nah, dude, I love that. Those were just two questions that I wanted to pose more about vulnerability, because I feel like that's something that we've all gotten better with recently
Yeah.
as a friend group.
I want to ask you guys, just because I'm a single man, I kind of want to learn from you guys. Like, how do you show it in your relationships with your partner? Like, how important is that?
Jag, that's exactly. I was trying to think of a question that aligned with that, because I was actually curious to the same thing. I just didn't know how to word it. So you just asked the question that I wanted to ask too.
Yeah,
I think
Two single men asking
regardless,
two.
I'm a big proponent of this. You should be your most vulnerable self with your spouse, regardless. Even with your friends, it doesn't matter. That is your person. You are now one in God's eyes. That you're supposed to act as one. Anything going on, that needs to be, a two-handed circle that you need to make with your spouse, and everything needs to be communicated. That vulnerability goes along in that. You have to be you have to know all that's going on in your spouse's life, and they have to know the same for you. And that's how you learn about each other. That's how you help each other. That's your main support system. So you have to be the most vulnerable with your spouse.
Yeah.
It's great stuff. JB, I know
'cause-
you're kind of like in like a fresher one. How do you do it like right off the bat? So I know it's
I think Yeah, I think it's most important to do it. Try to get as comfortable as you can in the beginning, because like Jared said, in the long run, it all leads to those things where, like you said, the two in a circle. You know everything about them. That's how you can help them. But it's kind of just being yourself. You know, as men in this world, we start talking to a girl. The first time we don't show everything about us. Like, the more you talk to that one person that you like, you get more goofy. You joke around with them more. But from the very beginning, we don't do that. We try to put on this cool front. We try to be the coolest guy. The thing that we think they want to see. And so once you start peeling back those layers to yourself and opening up, you can really start to show what you're about. And then, like we said, it's power. It offers a door for them to also be vulnerable back to you. And in turn, it leads to not those surface level conversations. Now you get into deeper conversations about who they are, their faith, what they believe in, what their morals are, what trauma past things they had go on in their life, what their thoughts are. It's everything just starts to peel back once you can truly be vulnerable, whether that be in a sense of vulnerability. How do I say vulnerability in like your goofy side, your fun side that you don't let everybody else see, or whether it's vulnerable on things that have hurt you in the past, or things that you're worried about, or things that are going on in your life. I think just being vulnerable in that entire aspect opens up a door for them as well.
I love that.
Would you agree? Okay, going off what you said, I completely agree that we put on a front, and as time progresses, we let people get closer and closer to us. Do you feel like it should be that way? I feel like it should be more of a smooth gradient. One, as the trust grows, you gain trust in each other, and you kind of let your guard down and be more vulnerable. But also, I feel like it's special for your spouse that over time, as the trust grows, you become more vulnerable. Because if you were vulnerable off the start, or vulnerable with everybody, it wouldn't be as special to them that you let them in, so to speak.
Oh yeah, I think there's definitely levels to how vulnerable you can be with somebody. So I think that level that your spouse reaches to, I think that's a level that nobody else should really get. But I do think there's a certain wall that everybody, not just men, I think women, everybody puts up in this world, that whenever we speak to people for the first time, it's kind of like this. We try to put on the best front of what we want them to see, and not of actually who we are. So I think there's a wall that we have put up that I think is too, I think is too much of a front of who we are. But I do think, like you said, there is a certain barrier that you cross into with your spouse, that only they should be able to get that side of you.
Yeah, man.
Love that, guys.
Dude, these two men over here dropping facts.
Yeah.
They're dropping
Be
facts.
yourself and be your most vulnerable with your
partner. And truthfully, that is it not only like they were just saying that does it like help to show that side of you, but like your relationship grows tremendously, because like your relationship as you have it with that person, like there are two sides to your relationship. There's a side behind the doors, and there's a side that everyone else gets to see. And the one behind the doors is the more special of the two, because that's really the intimacy that both of you share in the relationship, right? I'm not saying like not sexual, I guess once you're married, yes, sexually, but I mean like just being around one another though, because that's the special part. It just is.
JB's got. I mean, you were talking about bad little things or whatever last week. So.
Yeah.
Dude, I went back and like watched her. I was talking with Jared, and
Please tell
then
me we
I
didn't cut it.
realized, no, we didn't cut it. But I was
Bad little
talking with
girl.
Jared, and then I was listening to it, and I realized what I said, and I was like, why were y'all laughing so hard? And then I realized what I said, and I was like, dude. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
bro.
Like a bad
man.
little thing, like a bad little thing. I was like, I was dying.
Man, dude.
It's okay.
I showed it to Neil, and she was dying laughing.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I'm
How
glad
would
you kept it there.
okay, I got a question for y'all though. How would you, so like let's say you come across somebody who's like super like anti-vulnerable, like I'm not gonna be that guy because I just gotta show strength all the time. Like, I'm not saying don't set out on a conquest to change the person, right? Like, how could you go about sharing that information with somebody else without them feeling like you're just trying to control them and tell them what to do? Because I know a lot of guys, and we all have egos to a certain extent, and a lot of guys don't necessarily like to listen to other guys' advice on things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes back to what we were speaking about earlier. I think that your vulnerability offers up a door to them. So I think there's a level to it. So if they don't, after you offer up that little bit, and see how they egg towards, if they don't really move towards it, then I think it's kind of hard for you to open up yourself fully when somebody else isn't accepting to it.
Yeah.
So I think maybe have a conversation about it. Maybe have a conversation about it and just ask them like simple questions that you think can probe them a little bit. That can get them to be a little bit more vulnerable. And if they aren't, then I think that's just something that they have to work on internally themselves. Because like you said, we can't force them to be vulnerable with us. We can't force them to do those kind of things.
Yeah, man.
I'll straight up admit, like I was that guy that like wanted to act like I had nothing wrong with my life. But what helped me was you guys coming to me about y'all's problems. And it wasn't after the first time I wasn't ready to open up, but like the third, fourth, fifth time you guys came to me, even if it was something small, I felt comfortable to bring mine to the table after I heard what you guys brought. It's just that consistency of hearing, okay, this is what's going on. I'm not the only one going through this. Let me tell them what's going on with me.
It's also that trust that they showed you in confiding in you,
Exactly.
and you were able to reciprocate the trust over time.
Right.
Absolutely.
Nice. Well, we'll jump into the next topic here. I got J-Rod coming up on the track with the hot mic. J-Rod,
Yeah,
what you thinking up there?
So I just wanted to ask y'all about, what's the greatest, like the great advantages and the negative side of social media for our society, just as we see it today.
Let's just cover the positives right now. Let's talk about some positive things here.
Pros and cons.
Let's get the pros running first.
Yeah, let's start with the positives.
Yeah,
Positive is honestly what we're all doing right now, right? Is being able to build a career through social media that we really don't have experience in. JB didn't, go to school to become a preacher or anything like that. He's kind of learned through social media and through other creators to do so. I didn't go to school in broadcasting, and Will didn't go to school to learn how to run a podcast or anything like that. It's you learn from others, and it also gives you a platform to do that because, 35, 40, 50 years ago, we couldn't do what we're doing right now. We couldn't build a career in this at all. It wasn't an option. Now it is. That's a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Another positive.
Go for it.
Another positive that kind of like goes along with it is that we have the ability to change people's lives and put out a positive message. So with this podcast, we speak about a lot of personal things, personal issues that a lot of guys don't like to talk about. That's kind of like the whole premise of our podcast is that we want to bring something new to the table that guys don't normally talk about and open up more, and so we can help other people. So with having a podcast like this and the things that we make, it offers a platform to help others and have an outlet for them to also be able to speak and change people's lives. So I think that's like the biggest advantage that I've seen from social media so far, is that like changing lives, changing people's aspect and how they think and who they look up to, and ultimately everything they do in their life.
Yeah, dude.
And
I know. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Will. No, Will, go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, JB, I know you've seen a lot of this. Jack, you've seen a lot of it too. But ultimately, for me, it's like, I'm not doing this because I want to. I mean, truthfully, I don't want to build a career out of this. I don't want to monetize it. I do it because I thoroughly enjoy it. I just enjoy talking and sharing what I have to say on the internet. And frankly, I do it for the exact reasons that Jack and JB just listed. JB's thing was outreach, right? Like, I enjoy talking. I mean, you guys know I enjoy talking. I can talk to a brick wall. But being able to reach people with the message of like, hey, This isn't just your standard run of the mill. Here's someone shaking their butt on a video. Like this is actual juicy information that you can grow from and learn from. And Jack, like you're saying true. Like we're all learning a new skill set. We're all adventuring into a new space we've never really touched. And you didn't go to school for it. Jared didn't go to school for it. JB didn't go to school for it. JB's learned a lot through watching other people and just diving into the word, right? And I mean, just spending time thinking about things, just like you, Jack. Like I see your stuff every day, and you are in the freaking sports, bro. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on in basketball, but I'm here to support it. And Jared, have you been posting recently?
Not so much recently.
Okay. I didn't want to get that wrong. Okay, yes. But your stuff is still the same, right? Like I think we all just have a passion behind it. So it's an outlet for creative passion that we all have. And for me, I enjoy sharing things with everybody and just trying to make someone else's day a little bit better. Or at least give someone a new perspective on their life that they never really had before.
Will, it's funny hearing your perspective of like whenever you're just starting and you're like, I genuinely enjoy doing this. Because JB and I, when we started, it was the exact same mindset. We never ever like thought like anything of it. I think another positive is connecting some of the greatest minds in the world, right? We were just talking about Jocko, Jordan Peterson. These guys can have conversations and then record them and post them, and it's accessed by millions of people. That was not possible. To get access to some of the greatest minds decades ago, you'd have to go to the library and read several books. Now you can just pop in your AirPods and listen to Jordan Peterson or some other great person. So
that's what the founder of Dropbox says, is that you can get access to information instantly within a second.
Mm-hmm.
That's the pro I was going to bring up a little bit more. Not an in-depth idea, but that the speed that information travels nowadays, like you can learn so much faster. You can hear many different people speak. You can see things that are going on all across the world in minutes. I know my parents were talking about things from the Bible that talked about we as a world would all see an event go on at one time. And, they couldn't fathom how that would be possible. And then all like, my dad said he was watching Desert Storm happening live, and he said like he clicked for him how that was going to happen through social media and the internet. People all around the world can see something going on at one time, and we don't have to all be in one location. You can all see it from your thing you have in your pocket. So the speed information travels is a huge positive.
Now, conversely, though, the speed at which information travels can be a massive detriment. Yeah, it can be a massive detriment, man. Dude, disinformation is, y'all, you can't trust the internet for anything whenever it comes to somebody saying that this definitely happened at this place. Sorry, Jack. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say, man. And you get news cycles that are 24/7 now. Back in the day, like we always hear, it used to just be 5 to 6 p.m. or whatever time it was at. News anchors now have to talk about this stuff for 24 hours a day. So if you're in front of a TV with the news on, even in the background, you're going to be consumed by that negativity and the major terrible stories that are going on in the world.
Yeah. I don't know where I heard it from, but there was it was like a study or something done that around the world that 7 incorrect stories will make headlines and travel around faster than the 3 real ones that are actually true. And so it's crazy, like just how fast like misinformation can just travel completely, and then it changes the mind of what people think about. So then the real news doesn't even hit their phone. So now you have 70% of the population believing one thing when the 30% that's actually true. It's crazy.
Yeah. Dude, and I also do want to just state this because I do work in cybersecurity. And yes, I do see this. And I just got to share this tidbit of information, fun fact of the day here. We talk about misinformation and people generating all these crap stories and whatnot. There are actual programs, there are bots that are sitting out there purposely generating and making all this fake news. And they continue. So what they do is they make a story. And if a lot of people interact with it and they like it, then they figure out what they did with that story. This is all automatically and happens within milliseconds. And then they create another story based off of how interactive that first one is, to the point where you have a story that it's created that people are going to constantly flock to, and that's going to be what you see on your reel or on your feed or whatever it is. Like, it's continuously, automatically making fake stories. So that's why it's hard to trust a lot of stuff on the internet.
Exactly.
It's crazy how many people will get on their phone and they'll start scrolling through TikTok, Instagram, whatever, and like whether it's a creator or a news outlet or whoever's giving out information, people won't even take the time to do research because it's so easily accessible to open up Instagram, TikTok, whatever, YouTube, and just hear somebody talk about it for 30 seconds than to go even open up Google and do your own research. It's crazy to think how many people are just taking it as is, as they see it fly across their screen, and they'll just go on.
Oh my gosh, the sky's orange? I didn't know that. Wait, am I
think it's blue.
colorblind? No, I have a
think it's
rare eye
blue.
disorder that is going to cause cancer, according to WebMD.
Yeah.
I swear, dude. WebMD's the bane of existence.
Yeah. And
People are
it all-
sheep now. They just blindly believe, without the research. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it also goes to another con that I saw. You were speaking about, Jack, that we are able to see or hear the beautiful minds of some of the greatest people in this world. But on the same time, we also have things like Twitter. And something, I don't know if you guys watch Apollo, but I was watching Apollo, and they made a great point that as humans, we were not made to know this many people's thoughts out loud. We were not made to know 100 different people's thoughts on one different topic or on a bunch of different topics as you're scrolling and feeding yourself with that information over and over and over again. So when you hop on Twitter and all you get is just negativity, and you just go through a feed of negativity and people going back and forth on certain topics, it can also like feed into the bad side of it as well if you're feeding into that bad side of people's minds.
Yeah, man. Dude, social media harps. I know we talked about this too. A lot about the emotional side of people. You know, it definitely has triggered, at least whenever I know that throughout the time I was going through school, it triggered a lot of depression for people. It triggered a lot of kind of like self-hate stuff for a bunch of people, or just confusion of like who you are and what kind of identity you need to have to fit in, or how you need to post in order to be cool and to be liked. And it's like, none of that stuff matters, man. That just created so much complexity for, I don't know about you guys and how y'all experienced it, but for my generation of people where I live, like even just being in high school, like it was a confusing time because, you know, I don't feel like I necessarily experienced that, but I definitely know a lot of other people that did.
Yeah, I mean, as humans, we shouldn't have all of those bundled up or collaboration of emotions, and especially at such a young age, we shouldn't be feeling those type of things strictly just based on the fact that we have social media that's propounding that kind of emotion and those kind of feelings. At that young of age, we shouldn't have those kind of problems. We should be worried about a lot of other things than how to fit in. It used to be just how to fit in into your school. Now I'll tell you, how do you fit into society on social media when a bunch of other people are looking at you as well?
JB, have you had to stop like reading your comments at all? I know how enthralled you are with your DMs. You try to help as many people as possible, but when it comes to your comments, especially in your industry, I'm sure you probably get some wild ones. If you had to get out of your comment section,
I made a rule to myself that after I post a video, I will go to the comments once the video's kind of ran its course, and then I don't go back to the comments. So I'll go through all the nice comments, I'll read them, and then sometimes I'll see the bad ones. I will read them. I will try to understand them at first. I'll see if it's coming from a place of just like malicious intent, or if it's somebody that's trying to like teach me something, and they may have just gone about it in like a rude way. So I think after that first go through, I think I'm done reading my comments completely, and I just kind of move on. Because I know that like people in this industry that are content creators, they can get so caught up in the comments that it does trigger these things, like we said, like depression, anxiety, and these bad feelings that you have. And I know that a lot of that stems from the community that they're speaking to, and if they're doing the right things, if they're liked or if they're hated. But the whole point of what I'm doing um, is not to be liked or hated. Is to spread my message how I'm supposed to be spreading it. So I try to keep myself outside of my comments as much as I possibly can.
I love that. I check mine about once. Now I usually go through like within the first 10 minutes, and that'll be my only time. There'll be a few comments that I'll respond to, and then after that, I just let the video do what the video does.
Yeah.
Because I really found myself getting paralyzed just going back in it and like responding to people. Because you've heard like Gary Vee or like other content creators like that, they'll tell you to like, be involved in your community and stuff. That was my intention going into it, responding to as many people as possible. And I think that is absolutely what you should do up to a certain level. And once you get to a certain level, like it's not as important to build that community when it's already been built. When your community has already been built, and you'll know, like JB does in his DMs, he knows that he has a community of people that loves him and he loves himself. So I think once you get to a certain level, it's toxic reading all these people's different thoughts about one video.
Yeah, and I think there's a way to build that community. Like once you build it inside of the comments and DMs and things like that, maybe you have a Discord and you hop in there and you talk to people. I see that Alex Eubank does that a lot of times. So hop in his Discord and just talk to the people in the Discord. Because if you're in his Discord, you actually care about him and you care about the content and what he makes. So you're not just a hater. So we'll talk to those people. Or if you want to go live, and that's another way to interact with people, you can do that and you're just talking to the camera and you're talking to those people and answering questions. But it's a lot less common for you to see negative people come into your live and want to watch what you're doing, rather than the people who actually support you are going to be the ones that come into your live. So there are better ways to build your community instead of staying in the comments, because I think that can be, the comments is kind of like the place where a lot of keyboard warriors can hide behind a screen and start typing to you and talking to you. So I think that's like the most toxic area that you can be in.
Absolutely agree, bro.
Yeah, man.
Do you think we've created a community with social media, or created a society that hates to change their mind? Because I feel like a lot of times, anybody
said
in
hates to
comment
change their
sections,
mind?
or anybody in comment sections or coming on people's lives or whatever, they're so stuck in their ways. They're not open to hear a different side. They just want to get their 10 words out of, whether it's hatred or, just like, I disagree with that so much. Here's why. I don't even want to hear what you have to say. And then just leaving. It's like, do y'all think that we're more disagreeable or less disagreeable now with social media?
I think that we've definitely created a culture where people are unaccepting of other people's views. Dude, I swear to you. I mean, like, there are definitely people that change, but I feel like a lot of it's ignorance. A lot of it is laziness. A lot of it is people just enjoy pissing other people off. That's a big portion of it. And people just find it fun to send stuff where it's like, it just creates debate.
I think the biggest part of it is the content that does well now. Like in my community, for example, sports content. What does well, if me and my co-host Cooper, if I said a statement, he goes, "Bro, I agree. You're absolutely right." It's gonna get 0 views. If he completely disagrees with me and we get in a battle about a certain player or a certain team, that's gonna do well because it's a disagreement. People enjoy watching that. It taps a niche in them. And they see that we're digging our heels in, and a lot of people, even like the news shows, like you see people arguing on CNN or Fox News or whatever, that does well in the world, and that's the example that it sets for the younger generation. So they want to dig their heels in even more too.
Yeah, I hear you guys. I hear all three of you. You guys make great points, but there's also something to be said about our generation. And I think that our generation has brought about some of the most change that we've seen in a while. So I think social media has opened up a door for us to see more people's thoughts. And I think now we see just how stubborn more people are. But at the same time, I think that people are also a lot more open to changing as well. Because, for example, for a long time, there was a thought that Christians didn't like people in the LGBTQ community. That it was a very thought thing that Christians don't like gays. They bash people like that when that's never been the main point of it all. The main point was to love other people. And so I think that when that message has been pushed out to a lot more people recently, I think that Christians have now, people are starting to come around and see that more Christians. Dude, what are y'all doing, man?
I'm just looking at Jack. My bad.
I'm listening, JB.
Jeez.
I'm all in listening.
Keep going. Keep going.
Anyway,
Keep going.
so I think it brings a lot more of an aspect to show that's not how Christians think. So I think that social media has opened up that lane for people to actually see the change in other people as well.
I can definitely see that and I hop on board with that. I honestly, like, even after what I just said and even after what you said, JB, I still think that we've created more of an issue than a fix, though, than having more people be open, just because there's so many times I feel like more than just like having the accepting kind of viewpoint, a lot of people, I mean, even in videos that are like of good things that other people do, like you have people that are just like, this is stupid. Like, why would they ever do that? I would never do that. And it's, I respectfully agree and disagree. There it is.
I get it.
I accept and I value your viewpoint because I think that you're right. I think that the other point's right. Everybody's right. That's the thing.
Right.
I think that's a great point, Jay. But honestly, I think it's coming full circle though. What we were talking about earlier. I think people are coming to realize that anything on the internet, is almost all of it's an opinion. And I think people are starting, especially in the younger generation, starting to see it that way. So the more people that will see things as an opinion other than fact, I think the more open-minded people will be, and the more people will come to their own conclusions about things and not just, take things for people's word on the internet.
I feel like in person, I feel like you've created a good culture. I feel like on the internet, I think that Jared, you make a solid point though. We're definitely now seeing that change of people that are like, okay, this is viewed more as an opinion rather than a fact. And that's definitely a shift that I've noticed. I feel like in the past year or two.
It's a lot easier to have a healthy debate in person than on a screen because you can actually see the person's reaction. You can negotiate with them. You know exactly who you're talking to. You can't make up some image of somebody through a username or anything like that. I think the method of communication too may have something to do with it, because I think any like normal like level-headed person can have a healthy debate with somebody else that they disagree with. I think it goes back to where you came from, and I think the method of communication really, because it's easy. Like JB was talking about in the comments section earlier, it's easy to be a keyboard warrior because you don't know who you're talking to. It doesn't matter. It's just you're seeing words on a screen.
For all those of you out here thinking I'm disagreeing with JB, I'm not. Just for the record, I don't disagree with anything that JB said, okay?
I agree and disagree.
I agree.
It's exactly what you said, Will. It
You're
goes
in the
both
same
ways.
boat. Because, I fully agree with JB. I'm not even going to recap that. Basically, I just want you to know, I don't think
it's just a matter of where your mind goes. So
right.
So mine is that I think that we see more disagreeing in comments because social media has allowed for people to do that. But you guys are saying that because of how social media has progressed, that more people are like dividing and they'll be against each other. So I think it's just a matter of how you see it. But you can't. There's no that's a viewpoint. There is no clean cut drive statistic that'll tell us which one it is.
Right.
Just about how you view it. So
absolutely.
Yeah, man, dude. Oh. This is a good topic.
Yeah,
we had some good debate on this one.
We did. Thank y'all for keeping the conversation going. Sorry, I was being 4 years old. I couldn't help myself.
Dude, over there cracking a. I don't
No,
even know. You're rustling your jimmies over there, Jack.
I was like, I can't look at my screen because I saw Jared start licking his.
It's
I
you, man. I
know.
Yo,
we were egging on each other, bro. Like I was thinking, it started with me, and I was like, Jared. Okay, he reacted. Okay.
And I'm just looking at JV's straight face. So I'm like, wait, what's going on up top?
It was such a good point too. It was such a good point too. That's why I was like, I'm not going to. I'm sorry, Josh.
Y'all are some clowns.
Some clowns.
Hey, that's what we are, man.
We'll insert.
We're
hey,
humans.
we got to do it.
Bro.
Small talk.
A little throw out to Sam.
Bro.
Insane,
Y'all,
bro.
y'all ready to get into the small talk?
We ready to get into small talk?
Anything else on social media, fellas?
We got some small talk for today. It is small talk, and it is a Sunday.
Yes, it is.
Unlike the
Will,
last
was it
recording.
less? What'd you say?
I said, unlike the last recording, it was on a Wednesday. What were you saying?
Did your week get any more like less clustered? I should say. I know you were kind of swamped last time we spoke.
It did ish. We were still pretty swamped since the last recording, and I've got more time in the swamp for about another month or so.
In the trenches.
We out here in the trenches trying to avoid trench foot though. Don't look up trench foot, y'all. It's gross. Although I feel like me just saying that's gonna make people be like, "What's that?" I'm gonna go see what that is.
Maybe like, yep.
Yeah, it's nasty. But basically, yeah, we're in the weeds, and I think that after having those few days, I mean, even up until today, really, I took this weekend just relax. It's been the perfect reset that I've needed.
Awesome.
I think we're gonna be back on good track for this next week and going forward. Still just, understanding what there is ahead. The shock isn't really there anymore of what all was just kind of thrown onto me at once, as far as responsibilities go for work. But we're going to be back on the normal track, chugging along the train tracks as per usual, trying to not get derailed. You know what it is. But anyway, we're going to move on from that topic.
I love it, brother. Let's move on
Yeah,
then.
man,
JB, you got
dude.
some big changes coming up here soon.
Oh, do you?
Man, I ain't got nothing.
I know Jack has some big changes going on up there.
What
Yeah,
change
you
did I
see
get?
that? You see that
Yeah.
silver thing in the back? Hold on, I can't.
Yeah. You see, hold on. Let me zoom in on this. Here we go, dude. Jack, you're on the big screen now. See that? It looks like a play button in the back left.
Is that a silver play button?
Is that a play button, Jack?
I literally, when I put this up on Thursday, I was like, if I should take this down so these clowns can't say a word during the podcast, and I'll be the first one.
YouTube's back there in their microphone. Yep, we see the play button back there. We see it loud and clear. Looks good.
Yeah.
That's your stage. That's your stage crew, Jack. They're all agreeing that it
Can we
looks
talk
good.
about your new, Jamie? Can we talk about your new season of life before you went into something completely irrelevant?
What are you talking about, man? I'm just here living life. We got a couple big moves coming. YouTube video coming about it.
Oh,
That'll be the
YouTube.
video that drops about it.
Can you give us
Any date
like
on
a
that drop?
sneak
Any
peek?
date on that drop?
Yeah, JB. What's your
Really?
pipeline looking like for this?
It'll probably be like March 20th, honestly.
Oh my. Okay, we've got like a full month, just about.
Yeah.
Yeah, easing something a month away.
I just checked my
There's
phone.
a lot of things that have to happen.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys don't follow JB on Instagram right now. Come on. He's so close to 100K. Y'all go follow him.
JB. Brandon Fourth.
J-Rod, let's
Four.
get into your week.
I don't know where the extra F came from.
Man, it's been traveling a lot because my fiance lives 6 hours away, so had to travel a lot. Got wedding to plan. It's a lot going on.
You're a
Took our
good man.
engagement photos, but other than that, same old really.
You're a good man, Jared. Good man.
That's another Instagram I'm going to plug. Your wedding photos are up now
Yeah,
on your
dude.
Instagram.
They're looking good, bro. They're looking good. Hey, if y'all haven't seen it yet, check out the description below the video. We do have everybody's, I guess, what is it? The profile links. What I don't even know what it's called. Beacons.
Our
Beacons.
Our
The-
beacons are down there.
All of our beacons are
Links.
down in the description.
Tap into our beacons.
On top of that, we're emitting a lot of light.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. But yeah, well, there's not too much small talk, truthfully, because we just recorded 3 or 4 days. It was like 4 days ago. So, I mean, ooh.
We just
Did
record.
you shush me?
He did. Listen,
He
we
just
just record
shushed
these
me.
things. We just record these things when we want to, when we can, because we like the conversation that we can have with.
That's right.
But they come out on Sundays though, so like
They
Yeah.
come out
Yeah,
every
they
Sunday.
They
are.
So it
come
doesn't
out
matter when
every
we-
Sunday.
It was all jokes.
No, I'm just messing with you,
Jokes.
Jack. I'm just joshing with you.
Hey, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Don't use my name like that.
Ooh.
Imagine
Okay,
naming
hey.
your kid Josh.
Hey, Josh. I'm just
Couldn't be me.
joking. I'm just joking.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm naming my kid Dewey. I've never named him Josh.
So, Jared,
Dewey.
have you received your
That's a
pizza
real
from
weird
JB
thing.
yet?
No, I have not.
JB, you need to send your
Still
pizza
waiting.
to him.
Oh,
Send him a pizza.
Whoa. I have $5 in my bank
The
account.
hell?
How do you have $5 in your bank account? What?
No, I'm joking,
Be
bro.
yawning all the
I'm
way.
joking,
Jay, we're
man.
putting
I'm
him to
joking.
sleep, I swear.
Bro, the way I sent that check, the hell? You said that so quick.
Oh man, guys. Oh man. Another
Yes,
good
indeed.
episode. Another good episode. JB?
All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. As always, like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell so you can turn the notifications on so you know that when we are posting, we have shorts and these videos go up every single Sunday. As always, we love you guys.
Subscribe. Hit that bell notification to get notified every time we upload. We love you guys. Pray a lot throughout the week. We'll talk to you guys next week. What are you doing, Jared? What is that? What is that, Jared? What was that?
JB, you're gonna make me blow a bicep out, dog.
Dude, I swear.
I decided,
Oh, man.
to join Jack Guinness.
Jack had to.
Blow that tricep out.
I didn't even know what to do
J-Rod
that
jumped
time.
up on that chair. I'm
Yeah.
about to throw some ones.
I like
Funny, I
going to-
almost,
I see.
almost fell the first time.
Dude, Jared, if you busted it, I think I would have actually been crying on the spot. I would have been laughing so hard.
My legs just went that way and my face was
Yeah,
that way.
your camera just falls over too.